Welcome to Abnormal, the podcast for normal people who want to do abnormal things. My guest today is someone that perfectly represents what being abnormal is all about. Haynes is one of Hong Kong and Asia's top CrossFit athletes, or just athletes in general, I should say. A 3 times CrossFit Games athlete and now a business owner and coach. In this chat, we really do dive into everything. His journey as an athlete, the lessons from running a business in Hong Kong, the rise and fall of CrossFit, which was an interesting one to hear his perspective from the inside, and also the mental toll that training to be a CrossFit Games athlete took on his life, his health, and actually his relationships. This episode is part sports competition, part life philosophy, but it is all real talk. And I promise it's one of those conversations that you're going to leave rethinking how you show up every day and redefining what loving the process means to you. So here it is, Ant Haynes on Abnormal. Enjoy. Ant Haynes, welcome to Abnormal. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, thank you, Pete. How are you, mate?
Fantastic. Now, I know you just come back from a decent trip in China, and I want to dive into that any second and talk about the ins and outs of what you've currently got going on in your fitness life. But I want to start off with a question to, I think, give some good context for the listeners. When you think about everything that you've kind of done and what you're known for, you know, the gym, the business, the CrossFit and the rugby, what's one part that no one sees that has actually cost you the most?
Oh, cost you the most. I guess it depends. I think if you're coming from it from an athlete's perspective, I think I work a lot of hours. So, you know, whether that is administrative hours behind a laptop or behind a desk, or actual coaching hours. It's funny, we've actually just started working with a nutritionist at Coastal, and she said, "Just want to ask, how do you make money?" And I was like, "Me personally?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, you personally, like, don't you just train all the time? Like, would you just have sponsors or what?" And I was like, "No, I'm actually one of the busiest coaches here. Like, I coach some of the most hours here at Coastal." She said, "Oh, really? I'm always walking in. Like, you're just training all the time." I was like, "Those are just the hours that we cross, which is an hour and a half. And then I'm basically back to gym floor." So I guess in terms of being an athlete and chasing athletic pursuits, I guess my job, you know, if you speak to any athlete who is trying to make it to the top or be a pro in whatever sport or discipline that is, I think you just have to be 100% bought into that if you really want to get to the top of it. And I've definitely felt throughout, especially my CrossFit career, less so in rugby because I was able to basically go professional with that. But with CrossFit, yeah, that's probably the thing that's, I guess, pulled me back the most. I think in terms of business, what's held back? I don't know. It's tough to say. Hong Kong government charging ridiculous rents. That's probably it. COVID's been a massive thing, and I know it's been for everyone. But yeah, it was tough being in Hong Kong during COVID. You know, lack of subsidies, airport shutting down, lack of ability to do really anything over here. That was tough, and that was kind of, especially for me, it was kind of in the years where I was getting to my best in CrossFit. Not saying I don't have the best ahead of me still, but I feel like that was when I was at my fittest, most injury free and performing well. And then it just felt like a lot of opportunities were taken away at that point, which is actually why I moved over to Dubai for 6 months, which a lot of people don't know that I did. They just think it was a big holiday, I think.
And the old influencer holiday to Dubai.
Yeah, exactly. I bought a one-way ticket over to Dubai because that was the only place that was free really around Asia. And I guess tried to start making a career out there and genuinely thought, like, is this the place I'm going to be for the next 1 to 5 years? Luckily, Hong Kong opened up and, you know, families back here and the business is back here and it all worked out. But yeah, that's probably the biggest things.
What did you think of Dubai?
I don't mind Dubai, actually. I quite like it. Everything is there. You can get your hands on anything and everything you want. I think the thing that I struggled with the most was a lack of nature. And actually just the heat. I was there throughout the summer as well. It's hard to do anything when you're through the summer months. As much as I love the beach and I love the sun, it was tough to be outside and do anything. It literally just feels like you're in an actual oven the whole time. But in the winter months, it was really nice. Like I said, plenty of things to do, loads of outdoor activities. Everyone's really active there for the most part. Obviously, if you get into the right communities, everyone just feels like there's always an activity to do at some time of the day, and I love that. And I feel like Hong Kong is kind of getting to that point as well now. But yeah, I met a lot of people who I knew of, and they were amazing and really took me under their wing and made me feel right at home. I was really nervous about moving overseas. I've never done it, and I think like people like you, I always I'm envious when I look at people like you who can kind of just pick up their life, move, and just drop it somewhere else and settle in like nothing has ever happened and nothing ever changed. And I always looked at that, apart from my university days, and I always looked and went, there's no way I could do that. I'm not that guy. I'm so deeply embedded and rooted in Hong Kong that if I tried to do that, I would just implode in another country. And I basically packed this bag, landed in Dubai, and 2 days later, I felt like I'd genuinely been there for 6-7 months already. And it was super easy. And I was like, okay, well, where to next? What am I doing next?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
it seems like
Dubai.
It seems like when you say it seems very easy from the outside, right? And this is one thing that I'm very careful with when posting on socials and stuff. I'm always trying to paint the real picture, right? It's like, okay, it seems like things are going well all the time and that you can be dropped in one place. But my goodness, like if you could hear some of the stories that from when I first moved to Hong Kong, this apartment, cockroaches, like I'm like, what have I done? Like, you're a professional athlete. I used to be a professional athlete, working an office job, working the whole tech thing. Yeah. I was like, what am I doing? I did not feel smooth at all. But as you say, Ant, you are, you're born and bred Hong Kong, right? And you are very well known around these parts, rightly so, for many different things. I moved here 5 years ago, and I know you through your social content and you being the guy in Hong Kong when it comes to basically health and fitness. You and your brother, but you more so on the performance side as the CrossFit Games athlete multiple time. So for yourself then, where do these kind of fit in terms of the different careers that you've had, going from rugby to CrossFit to business? Where do they see different lives to you, or could you just help us explain that journey that you've been through up to this point?
It is a bit crazy in thinking like the different transitions and how it kind of all ended up snowballing into just one big old journey. Life was always rugby and football, soccer football for any Americans listening. But yeah, it was always football and rugby. I actually probably preferred playing football, but I was definitely better at rugby. And when I got to like 13, 14, I had to make the choice. What am I going to do? Dad was definitely more of a rugby guy. Mum loved rugby because she could watch rugby sevens and it just seemed normal and a part of Hong Kong. So that felt like an easy route for me. Kind of went through the Hong Kong Academy, which existed at a time, which was just starting up at the time, which took grassroots players and tried to shepherd them into the men's teams. Managed to break into the men's 15s team. I think I got my first 15s cap when I was 15 against Singapore, playing at a football club, which is unreal. That was really good.
15?
I was 15.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You must have been an early bloomer. An early bloomer.
Yeah, early bloomer. Yeah, that's why I retired at the ripe old age of 24.
Wow. Oh, God.
So then went into rugby sevens. In Hong Kong, like that feels like the pinnacle. The Hong Kong sevens. Of course, now I know the 15 setup has been very much more professionalized and, amazing, qualifying for Rugby World Cup. And it's something that I absolutely still follow very closely. A lot of my mates are actually still, I have no idea, but they're still playing rugby and they're still hanging on by the skin of their teeth. I'm very happy I retired from rugby when I did, because my body just could not take it anymore. But yeah, so I ended up playing 7 Hong Kong sevens. Retired at 24. Essentially, like I said, I love the game. I really do love the game. I just fell out of love with the process of it all. I started to find like monotony in the whole thing, and I didn't find it exciting. Didn't find it, not that it wasn't challenging, but I wasn't up for the challenge of training every day and doing that sort of stuff. And that was at the point where Hong Kong Sevens setup was going professional, or you were basically out. So at that point, I said, can I go semi-pro? And they said, yeah, you can go semi-pro. What's the reason? I said, well, I still love rugby. I'm pretty sure this is what I want to do, but I'm also getting to the age now, when I was 23 at the time, I was like, I don't want to be a rugby coach. I know that for sure. I don't want to be the dad or the old guy standing on the side of an under sevens pitch just screaming at kids. That's just not what I want to do. I need to make another career somewhere. And at that point, Ed, my brother, had already retired from rugby as well. Like, he's had some horrendous injuries. If you want to talk about operations and surgeries, I'm pretty sure the Haynes brothers have got a very, very high insurance bill with the Hong Kong Rugby Football Unit. So they were happy to see us go. But yeah, Ed then started Coastal Fitness. He came back from uni. He had a passion for it already. It was a very clear passion, and he had his head screwed on and wanted to start up this business. And, my mum and dad were obviously very helpful with it and helped him along that whole way there. As soon as I finished uni at Newcastle Uni, came back and he's like, do you want to work for me? I said, well, yeah. I said to Rugby Union that I needed to find a job and I need something. So yeah, let's try it. I love it. And, this is coming to the 16th year now of doing it. And it's been great. And it's something that I definitely see myself doing, evolved in different roles within the coaching industry, but still love this. So yeah, that was basically my move away from rugby. Then I just ended up, my last Hong Kong Sevens got lifted up in the very first kickoff. Dog lifted me up. Fijian smashed into me in the first 2 seconds of the game as I held the ball, as I caught it off the kickoff, came down and basically retore my MCL, which I just had repaired a year before. And I was like, right, I'm done. Literally try to crawl off the field. I was like, I'm done. Then I looked up and all I could see was the ball being passed back down to my wing in the Hong Kong Sevens. I was like, oh no, here we go. So I basically just made my body a human speed bump. Somehow took him down. Somehow I think we got a penalty and I just rolled off the field. And that was basically my sevens in career done. And didn't have the heart to come back and try that whole recovery again. I think I was just done. So yeah, then went into coaching full time, and needed a competitive outlet. One of the guys who I was working with, a guy called Andy Bratsanos, who is still in the health and fitness industry now. He's kind of working with functional medicine. He's actually working a little bit with Max Woodward, one of the ex-Hong Kong rugby players as well. So yeah, he found out about this thing called CrossFit. To myself and my brother, Ed, we were like, this is just mental. Whatever the hell this thing is like, the amount of repetitions and the stuff that they're doing just does not seem like it's conducive to health and fitness. What we're used to anyway. When you read all the literature and all the books that you can read and all the podcasts at the time you can listen to, like, CrossFit did not fit into that anywhere at any point. So we dug into it a bit more, went and did our level ones, and Andy was like, I'm going to sign you up to this thing called the CrossFit Open. From the CrossFit Open, I did it and I ended up qualifying for what was then called regionals, which is like the regional competition of it. The top 40 men and women went, and this was in Korea, went and did that and basically fell in love with it. Although I still absolutely love the team aspect of rugby, and I definitely miss it within CrossFit, and it's probably something I might start to move towards in the future. I also love the fact that I've now moved from a team sport into an individual sport, and I had full ownership of what I was doing and what I was doing for my training, for my recovery. I was the one who chose to turn up or not turn up on the day, and those are some of the frustrations that I had when I left rugby as well. So yeah, it was just like my new competitive outlet, and I was like, I seem to be okay at this, whether it's just in Asia or on the world scheme. And here I am 10 plus years later, still doing it. And now getting into things like still doing CrossFit, but also dabbling in things like high rocks, as you know. I've just signed up to the Hong Kong Marathon, which I don't know if is a crazy idea or not.
I'll tell you now, that's fucking crazy. That is a crazy idea. I've done it. It's not the easiest. And I also spoke to the guy that won it last year. He came on the podcast, and he's a Kenyan guy, obviously one of the world's best runners. And even he said that Hong Kong's not an easy marathon because of the amount of incline throughout the whole thing. And there's no crowds, man. There's no crowds until like the last 4K or whatever. It's just dead. It's just highways the whole way. So
I know.
But hey, I think you're pretty mentally tapped anyway, so I think you'll be absolutely fine.
Well, I just ran so I did the 21K last year and I kind of just jumped into that. I know that sounds stupid, but I'd done enough running within my training and I'd done a high roxes and stuff. So I had at least 8K under my belt. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll do the 21K. And I did it, managed to come through it unscathed. Definitely didn't ignite a fire for running, but I was like, I'm good enough at this. And I feel like I want to tick a few more bingo cards and like, just I would love to do a marathon at some point. Running has become more popular through social media and
Yeah,
influences, and it's just so easy to access. So I was like, right, well, everyone's doing it, so I'm going to try and do it. So a lot of people at my gym were like, we're going to sign up to the Standard Chartered Marathon. So I was like, I'm in an hour and about. I was like, put me down for a marathon. Fuck it, whatever, just do it. I
that's
was like, can't be
crazy.
that hard. Yeah. So yeah, doing a marathon in January.
So it's funny because you say that running's like super popular now because of social media and whatever content creators, influencers, and I completely agree. By the way, like I run now as well, but I can't help but think I've been massively influenced by my algorithm.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanna ask that you must have also kind of been through that journey with CrossFit because when you first got into it, you said you hadn't heard of it before, and then you started reading the papers and like listening to the podcasts. And then it's obviously, as you know, it blew up around the world. And now, I mean, from the outside, I would say that it's kind of fallen off a bit compared to the trajectory that it was on,
For sure.
with other sports like running and high rocks coming into the fold and other people favoring more maybe accessible sports. So what was that? Were you kind of on that trend? Did you join right at the start of that trend and kind of ride the whole wave? Was that
Yeah.
am I getting the timing right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's like when CrossFit was like becoming cool. And at that time, it was like people wearing essentially rugby socks, like knee high socks, MMA style shorts. Yeah, literally couldn't see the kneecap. They had like headbands on. I was that guy. I started with all that sort of stuff, and thankfully I've grown out of it. But yeah, definitely rode that wave, and Coastal Fitness rode that wave really hard. We didn't have a premises initially. We were just freelance trainers, and we were like, should we sign for a lease? And signing for a lease in Hong Kong is like suicide. To be honest, it's so hard. Yeah, we eventually settled. Myself, Ed, with the two main ones, and Babs. I don't know if you know Babs Clancy. She used to live in Hong Kong. Yeah, so
Right. Okay.
she was with us as well, and we're all like, all right, let's do it. Let's get four walls around us and let's start this thing and let's jump into this. Let's try to ride this CrossFit wave. And be very honest, when we first started, I didn't even know what a snatch was. So we didn't coach snatching for 6 months. And we had
Jeez,
people
that's
joining our gym. They're
hilarious.
like, do you know, isn't there snatching in CrossFit? We're like, yeah, not great for the shoulders though. Cause like none of us could do it at the time. So we're like, yeah, don't do that. We'll just do the clean and jerks and we'll just do all the other stuff. We just won't do snatching. And then basically sat down one day. We're like, should we start trying to learn how to coach snatching or nah, screw it. Put it off for another month.
That's
But yeah,
hilarious.
we definitely rode that wave hard for sure.
And would you say you're still riding that, or you're kind of you've pivoted a bit more towards different things and diversified a bit?
Yeah, well, I think the core business of Coastal Fitness has always been our personal training. So the group training kind of always supported the personal training. So with that comes our view of longevity, health, and fitness, and basically trying to do whatever we do for as many years as you can. And we know if you follow the classic CrossFit model, unfortunately, it will generally break people. Where it's like constantly varied, high intensity functional movement. And it's just like the constant high intensity of, especially people in this city where people are tired, they're underfed or overfed, their, nutrition is not great, their lifestyle is not great. And suddenly they come into the gym and we're slamming them hard for an hour and then they out the door they go. So we tried to create the CrossFit model, or basically improve people's ability to CrossFit, for lack of a better term, whilst keeping the thought of being healthy, keeping the thought of longevity in the back of their mind. So like people often come to our gym, they're like, is this CrossFit? It's like, it is CrossFit, but we just don't slam you every single day. Monday is primarily focused on like strength work, slower contractions, maybe like more your classic powerlifting stuff. Tuesday is like aerobic work. very much like a high roxer would come in and be able to do our stuff where it's very low skill, but like high work capacity. Wednesday, higher skill work. There's a conditioning piece at the end there. Thursday, more bodybuilding focus. Friday, similar to Monday, but there's Olympic lifting in there. And then Saturday, there's like our tester workout, which looks much more quote unquote CrossFit. But that's our take on trying to keep people healthy. So yeah, I guess the crux of coastal fitness has always been sustainability and longevity. But yeah, I think riding that wave is something that we've come to blows with quite recently as well. I mean, as you said, there's not been crushing it in the last few years. There's been a lot of publicity, negative publicity and media surrounding it, and rightly so. To be honest, there's not much leadership from the brand itself and from the owners. There's been mistakes made by people at the top of the business, fatal mistakes, which are obviously extremely sad and unfortunate. And it just seems like a loss of direction, to be honest. When you look at what an affiliate, which is what we are at Coastal Fitness, we're a CrossFit affiliate, we pay $3,000 a year just to have the name CrossFit. But if you go on our website and you go on any of our things that we do, we don't actually really use that. So it's like, why are we paying that amount of money to do that? So that's like a conversation we've had a lot recently.
Why are you paying that money then?
I don't know. I still don't know.
All right. Okay.
Basically, so when I qualify for the games on my t-shirt, it will say CrossFit CSTL or Coastal Fitness on the bottom there.
That's why.
But it definitely doesn't give us like people don't search it. Like, the amount of times that we get business through the CrossFit website is maybe once every 2 months, one person will drop in and search for us that way. Otherwise, people will just generally go on Instagram, type in Hong Kong CrossFit, and we will pop up, or one of the other gyms will pop up and they'll come and have a look. Or they'll know it through myself or through Ed's profile or through one of the coaches' profiles. So yeah, it's a good question. I don't know why. I don't really know why we pay that. Because you can still do the open and stuff without it.
Okay. Because I mean, obviously I've watched a few documentaries and read a bit, but nowhere to the extent that you guys will have done your research. So that's why I'm interested. I'm interested in the model, right? Because it was obviously so successful for a long time. And then you hear of these stories of things that have happened and the leadership and how the business is running. And I just find it really interesting. So for you guys then, you said your philosophy is quite different to that of I want to say, quote unquote, typical CrossFit box or CrossFit gym. So when you're training and you're training for, like, let's say the CrossFit Games, how much are you then following the program that you are prescribing for other people versus how much do you actually have to just train for the competition instead of for your long-term health, if that's a okay way of putting it?
No, yeah, absolutely. 90% of the year, I follow the same program that 200 plus of our online subscribers follow as well. It's not too dissimilar to what we run in the class as well. So in our classes, we have live, perform, and compete. They have 3 separate goals of the program. So they're not just like level 1, level 2, level 3. But yeah, that's and then I follow the elite one, which essentially would be like the add-on after the compete, which basically just separates it into 2 sessions in a day. There's much more skill, there's much more complexity involved, and that will allow you to compete at the highest level within the sport. Now, we have a lot of people who follow the elite program, for example, who may not be anywhere near as good as me or may not have as much experience, strength, capacity, but they want to get there. That's something that they aspire to be. So whether it's a CrossFit Games to them or whether it's a competition like Shanghai that I was just in, that will still allow you to compete and have all the skills and be exposed to everything which you'd expect to see in CrossFit. And that's another thing with CrossFit. It's so fucking hard to program for a CrossFitter because they do everything. My CrossFit event that I just went to in Shanghai, the first event was just pretty much half a high rocks. So it's like, so if you don't have the skills to push and pull a sled and carry a sandbag on your back and run, then you're done. If then the next event is like 20 muscle ups, 60 meters of handstand walking, and 60 chest to bar pull-ups. Again, like, you just got to be really good at everything. So it's really difficult to program for a CrossFitter. So the elite program allows for that with the 2 sessions a day across 5 days a week. It allows you to put more things in and have touches on it. And of course, you expect the athlete to have a higher training age, a higher level of kind of responsibility, ownership, and consistency with their training so they can kind of take that on. But we also do online coaching with a lot of those people as well. But yeah, I still I think a lot of the time people come up to me and they go, how the hell are you still competing at this level? And it's because of the same question you just asked me. It's like, do I follow it with the idea of me wanting to do this for a long time? Or I'm gonna just like slam my body as hard as I can for 3 to 4 years and get what I can out of it and then just pull the pin. And I feel sometimes like I'm doing that. But for the most part, yeah, I believe in that as well. So, it's not crazy amount of junk volume, although you get to the stage where, you know, you're getting towards a competition. You have to be prepared to do like 500 reps of something. You just got to be ready to do that. So like, you got to put your body through the ringer, but that's like maybe 5% of the year. The other 95% is like really focusing on like good movement quality, good control through your movements, staying sub-maximal with most things, and following the program to a T. Obviously, there'll be rehab, prehab movements you put in there. There might be some extra touches you put in. Maybe you'll pour it, handstand push-ups. You need to put extra volume in there. Whatever that might be, you fill in the blank there. But yeah, I'd say 95% of the year, I'm following the program that everyone else follows as well.
Have you ever felt severely underprepared for a competition?
Massively, yes.
When?
This is funny actually. So Ed, my brother, I wouldn't say he's necessarily my coach anymore. I think I'm almost a bit self-led, but he writes the program that I follow, which a lot of other people follow as well. So I initially started by hiring a coach who worked from Canada. There's a company called OPEX now. It used to be called OPT, Optimum Performance Training. And I looked him up and I found this guy called DJ Wickham. He was a CrossFit Games qualifier himself. And that was kind of the way it just happened by then. It's like, if you had qualified for the games, you automatically become a coach. And everyone's like, oh, cool. Like, this guy must know how to get there, where he probably has a coach. And, it doesn't really
Sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It doesn't really work like that, as I'm sure we both know. But so I basically hired him. He was really good, though. He basically saw my movement. He's like, wow, you move like dog shit. You must have been a rugby player. I was like, yep, correct. Like, my shoulders were so tight, could barely squat. Thoracic was like immovable. So he's like, cool, we're going to start with just loads of movement work. And that was like where we started. Once I finished that journey with him, which was probably about 3 years, I worked with him and various other coaches and physios alongside him. Ed basically said, would you like to be my athlete? I'm going to dive into this. Like, I want to try and program for elite athletes. And up to that stage, he'd just been programming for the gym. Myself, Ed, and Brats were basically sharing different days. It was complete mumbo jumbo. Like, one day, Brats would program something and I would program something the next day, but fuck, I didn't realize you did that. Oh, right. Shit. Like, it was just a mess. Just teething problems and kind of just learning as we went. So yeah, Ed asked, and it really unfortunate for him is that the first competition that he was coaching me at, I was his only athlete, was the Dubai Fitness Championships, which is a very big event held in Dubai every year. It is hosted and paid for by one of the sheikhs over there from the royal family. So there's a lot of prize money on the line. I had been the year before, or maybe 2 years before I qualified and I actually did pretty well. I came in the top 10, good prize money. I was like, okay, I'm expecting big things going to this thing. Like, I'm like excited to go. And I remember when he was coaching me, I remember thinking like, I feel like a little bit underprepared for it. I was like, I feel strong and I feel pretty good. But I was like, I don't feel like I've done much in terms of volume, which is like the question you asked. Do you just slam yourself with volume and craziness of CrossFit at some points in the year? Anyways, turn up on day one and there are 6 events on the first day. The first event was a 38-kilometer bike ride in the desert to the Al Qudra Desert. That started at 6 a.m. in the morning. The next event was a 100 max clean and jerk. The next event, which was basically straight after that, you had 10 minutes to do a clean and jerk. This is also weird that I know all these events off by heart. I just
you sound like it must be a horrific memory for you, and it's just PTSD, imprinted.
Yeah, correct. The next event was then a 1 to 10 unbroken ring muscle ups. But after each round of it, you have to do a 50-foot handstand walk. The next event had double unders, 100 kg overhead squats and toes to bars. The next event was 50 devil's press into 50 chest to bars. And it basically finished off the last event with a 2K run around a track. And I remember I got to the track and it was about 7 o'clock at night and the lights are all like shining bright down. Again, like there's not many spectators that come down to watch this sort of thing. And I remember thinking, I'm fucking beat up already. this is day one. I got another 3 days to go after it's a 4-day event. And I'm about to put my shoes on and take place in event 6, which is a 2K run. I was like, I'll be good at this because I'm rugby player and I'll be fine. I literally put my shoes on, tied them up, and stood up, and both my legs like seized up. And I was like, "Oh fuck, that's not good." So basically, I sat in a bit of the squat, and as I sat in the squat, both my calves went. I was like, "Whoa!" Like shot up. I was like, "Oh shit!" And I was looking around at some of the other lads, and they seemed fine. They were just like cruising around the track, getting their warm up laps in. I was like, "Fuck, I don't feel good here." Went over to one of the other guys who I'm close with now, a guy called Travis Mann. I said, "Trav, like, what are you gonna do?" Like, he's like, "Oh, I feel like my hamstrings are a little bit like twingy." He's like, "I'm just gonna do like probably 2 laps, one smooth, one at my race pace, and that's gonna be it." I was like, "Cool, I'll join you." Went about 10 meters into it. I was like, "Nope, can't do it." Pulled the pin. So then I just stood around stretching. Anyways, the 2K starts. Both my quads go. By the 5th lap, hamstrings gone, adductors gone, calves are gone, my tibs have gone, my quads are completely seized up. The only thing that's fine is my upper body. And I'm literally running like
just all
completely
arms.
peg-legged. Yeah, like I was literally on my heel / on my toes. I got to the finish line. I literally collapsed over the finish line. 2 people still lost to me. One guy was on the other side of the track with cramp as well, and he literally getting wheeled off the track. And another guy was just so fucking slow, he somehow lost to me. Anyway, so I came 3rd last in the 2K, and then I lay on that track for no joke, I think 49 minutes. I had 5 Nepalese guys trying to stretch me out. I went through 2 oxygen tanks. I went through about 200 grams of gummy bears, just trying to get sugars into my body. But by that point, my whole body had like seized up. So like, if I did anything, the trap would go, my lats would go, my biceps would go, my forearms, my neck. And I was literally, oh mate, that's the worst pain I've ever been in my life. Because you're fully conscious of what's going on. It's not like you've had an operation or you have an injury and adrenaline's going through you. Like your body, every single muscle is like completely seized up. And when your quad goes, obviously you try to get rid of it by bending your knee. Then suddenly
and then your hamstring goes.
and then both of them are going. And then so that was the most underprepared I've ever felt for a competition. And it was just horrible. The next day was like swimming and stuff, and I could barely like raise my arm over my head. I actually remember Ed going, "I think we should journal about this tonight." I was like, "Go fuck yourself. I'm not going to journal about not journaling about anything. All I want to do is sleep. I'm so sore." And yeah, no surprise that year was not my year to do well at the Dubai Fitness Championships. But yes, felt very, very underprepared going into that.
So who's to blame there? Were you blaming your brother as
No,
his
I think
athlete?
it's a 50-50 thing. I think, you have to take full ownership as an athlete as well. It's if I needed more, I should have told him I needed more. At the same time, I was doing well in my training. I was happy with it. So I didn't really see the need. And then suddenly I was like, oh shit, we're about to take on this competition. I should probably, at that point it's too late anyway. So yeah, it was just kind of pray and hope that I didn't capitulate. And unfortunately that didn't work either. So yeah, that was bad there.
From that experience then, did you then change things for the next comp?
Yeah, I think so. I think also Ed learned. I think at the time, Ed very much had the idea of like sustainability, longevity, and health in his mind. And he's like, you don't need to do that much volume. But then, when you see the other athletes and the training they do, I think still for me, I'll get to a competition. I'll completely rest the day before. Maybe I'll sit on a bike and stretch. There's other athletes who are doing like full blown, super high intensity workouts the day before because they're just wired that way. And it's just like, when you train that much and you do train that amount of reps, your body becomes resilient and it can tolerate like that many reps, that close to a competition and that many times throughout the entire year. So he's like, well, actually, I think CrossFit Games athletes are just built different. So they have the ability to do it. So we're going to try and see if you can do it. And I could tolerate the volume. So that's the way that my training started to go because I was individualized at the time. So even now when I follow like the elite program, sometimes I'll add extra sets of something, or I might do a little bit extra on a Saturday. Like even now, so I'm trying to get prepared for the marathon. I basically follow the program to a T. And on a Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I'm basically going to be hitting like 50K of running each week. So that's on top of the program as well. So I think I'm lucky enough. I've kind of earned the right over my years of training to be able to do that. But as I get older, I can definitely feel it takes its toll a lot more for sure.
When you go through those levels of comp, when you're talking about the Dubai one, then you've got the regional games, and then, very famously, you are a CrossFit Games athlete. Is it 3 times?
Yeah.
3 times you've done it?
Yeah.
3 times CrossFit Games athlete. And even people that don't really follow CrossFit, like even I've watched the documentaries of the CrossFit Games,
Yeah.
because I find them interesting. I love all the behind the scenes stuff, content, la 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 la. As an athlete then, are you seeing different things at different levels? And what is it like to be in that circle, to be the guy in the arena at the CrossFit Games?
Yeah. I mean, look, you got guys and girls out there who are, it's ridiculous like how much volume people can tolerate and how many times they could do a clean and jerk in a week. They might do like 5 days in a row of clean and jerking. I do one day, my wrists hurt. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. They're just, whether it's just plain stupidity and stubbornness and they want to do it, or it's actually that their body is totally fine and they have the tools and they've set themselves up right and the routine right to actually recover from that volume and the amount of weight that they're putting on their body. So yes, for sure. You go to different camps, you go to different training areas and grounds that people are training at, and you're like, fuck, like I don't want to do that. Like maybe that's not for me. And then you try and you're like, actually, I'm okay. It made me better. I can probably take some sort of adaptation of that and stick it into my own training and manipulate it a little bit to make it work for me. The thing is with CrossFit as well, it's such a new sport. It's the same as High Rocks is going through now. It's like, there's no High Rocks training methodology, really. I've seen like a couple have come out in the last few years. I know Proven, for example, who's a massive player in the CrossFit space, have given up a huge chunk of time from CrossFit and gone all in on High Rocks. And they've done that with James Newbury and Tia Toomey as their flagship carriers for it. And, even them, like they are trying to create the program, which everyone's going to jump on board. And CrossFit was the same. So everyone was trying to find the way to be the next CrossFit champion. And I think now still it's, it's only just over 20 years old, really, CrossFit as a sport. So you'll still see different adaptations, new methods of training, things that seem crazy. Then everyone's like, oh yeah, that's what you need to do to actually be the champ. And it's going to be the same with High Rocks. You're going to see guys who come away from being High Rocks champs and they're like, yeah, I'm covering 150K in a week. And you're like, well, fucking hell, you only have to do 8. Why are you doing so many? And then people about, all right, well, 150 is the standard. And once people see that nut job do that and they are successful with it, then that will just become the standard and everyone will be able to tolerate it. And the elite 15 will all run 150K a week, for example, or maybe they'll do 700 wall balls every single week to get really good at wall balls. That's the only thing they do. And then eventually it'll be like, okay, we got better methods of, you don't just have to do 700 wall balls. We can do like smart strength progressions with squatting, front squatting, goblet squatting, wall ball style squatting, whatever you want to do, and actually get you better at that without just smashing you into the ground. And I think that's the development and evolution that almost all sports go through, really. But yeah, I think that's like an eye-opening thing. And it's, again, with social media, I think it can be very toxic. I find myself sometimes, I come home and I feel like I've done a really good day of training. I'm like looking at my phone. I'm like, well, they did 5 sessions today and I did 2. What the fuck am I doing? Like, I should just get up and go, I'll go for a run. Screw it. You know what? I feel shit. I'm going to cycle my bike home rather than get the MTR home. And I can feel that goes through my head. And I used to go through my head a lot. It's a lot less these days, but I still feel that as well. Everything I do, I look at it as like, if I do that, am I going to get better at what I'm trying to do right now? So it's like, I had to move like 4,000 kilos of equipment today as we just bought new stuff for Coastal. I'm like, this is fine. It doesn't matter my back hurts because I'm going to be getting better at whatever I need to do. So I just stupid shit like that. But yeah, I guess being the man in the arena is something that we try and encourage people to do a lot. I think when we look at, so the process, the t-shirt I'm wearing now is our online platform, and like the umbrella company, and then Coastal is underneath it. It's one of the affiliate gyms of the process. One of our 6 values is courage over comfort. And I think putting yourself out there to be in the arena is like, it's scary. Some people thrive, of course, and they love the pressure of it, but some people absolutely don't. But it's something that we try and encourage everyone to do, whether it is the arena is Coastal Fitness in the 4 walls of a gym, or it's a High Rocks competition in Hong Kong or Shenzhen or Shanghai, or it's a CrossFit competition somewhere, or it's just going for a run along the waterfront. It's something that we encourage everyone to try and do. And I think for me, I try and lead from the front in that aspect as well, which is why I'm kind of dipping my toes into these high rocks, these CrossFit competitions, team competitions, and then the marathon. Something that I believe that as human beings we need to do. We need to challenge ourselves constantly, and I love it. I do love it. I love challenging myself on a daily basis, and I think that's probably why I love CrossFit, is because there is always a challenge that is slightly different versus running. I think I could definitely find myself getting bored with it because it's just getting better at running. Of course, there's different distances you can do, different modalities of it you can do, but for the main part, it's just the same thing. Whereas one day I could work on gymnastics versus weightlifting versus powerlifting style stuff versus then running and swimming. There's always something different, and I guess that also gives me an excuse to not be very good at something as well.
Yeah, the Swiss Army knife.
Exactly. Yeah, jack of all trades, pretty much.
Do you think that CrossFit athletes then are the best athletes, overall athletes in the world?
Oh God, I don't know. It depends on what the tests are, really. I think they are incredibly resilient. They are incredibly skilled. And I think CrossFitters are annoyingly good at picking up exercises. So if you try and teach someone, there are so many different movement patterns and the cognitive learning it takes to be able to pick up a skill and then go ahead and execute it. Or maybe it's just a stubbornness of, I can't do that. I need to go and learn how to do it. And they'll just hammer it at home for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. I don't know. Deck athletes are pretty damn amazing. I was watching the World Championships recently in Tokyo, just on TV, and it's just like, I mean, when I watch a deck athlete and they do like the 100-meter sprint, I'm like, damn, that was still fast. And then I see them go against like the 100-meter sprinters, I'm like, actually, it's not that impressive. But it is still wildly impressive that they can still do all those things, right? They're launching a javelin like 70 meters, and then the big boys come and throw it 90 meters. I'm like, kind of a bit of a spoiler on my argument that a deck athlete might be the fittest person in the world. But they're still like, I guess, yeah, it depends what the tests are. Powerlifters are obviously amazing. Lifters are unbelievable. High rocks athletes, like the amount of capacity that's being shown by high rocks athletes is ridiculous. We've got a lot of ultra runners that I'm friends with, and we train at Coastal, and those people are just ridiculous as well, what they can do and what they put their bodies and mind through. So I don't know, but I think if you got a really, really broad term of the word fitness, then I guess it would have to be probably a deck athlete or a CrossFit athlete, I would assume.
You said,
what do you think? Who would be your fitness?
Definitely not rugby players.
No, agreed.
I would. I mean, I think I'm not a CrossFitter, right? I don't even know what I am anymore. I'm just a wannabe professional athlete living my glory days still. Hybrid. Yeah. What does that even mean? Fucking hell. Right? But if I had to put money on it and say who are the best athletes in the world, I can't think of someone that I'd put money on other than someone that won the CrossFit Games, for example. If I had to pick one, male or female, I find it a really difficult argument to go against, considering the variety in exercises, like having to cover literally everything. Yeah. Anything can be thrown at you. And I've probably done the number of CrossFit classes I've done in my life, I could probably count on two hands, right? I really enjoy it, but I'm also extremely unflexible, and I really struggle with Olympic lifting. So I kind of have avoided it, but I like the class element when I'm on holiday and just being told what to do. But when I watch the games and I see the athletes and I see what they put themselves through, or what you put yourselves through, I'm like, well, yes, there's going to be experts that are better in certain things, like you mentioned, all of the ones that you mentioned. But if you had to drop someone in the middle of, if it was like the Earth has to choose one athlete to face against an alien, a one athlete versus one athlete from outer space, who are you going to pick? And you've got no idea what the challenge is. Well, fuck me. Probably going to pick a CrossFit athlete,
Yeah. I think actually when I think about it now, it's like, okay, the men's champions have never really like excelled at other sports because they just do CrossFit. But what I love about Tia Toomey, for example, who's she's 7 or 8 time games athlete now, champion, excuse me. She's a Commonwealth Games medalist in Olympic weightlifting. She was she went into the Olympic team for the Aussie team for bobsledding or something. I don't know what she was doing, but she was basically on the cusp of making that team, and she essentially went elite in that after 6 months of training. She's had a kid and she's doing all this now as a mom.
That's the most crazy thing.
Yeah, I know. And then she's still doing things like, jumping into things like high rocks, which is it's not a new sport for her, but it's still a new competition. It's still a new environment. And then putting herself out there and still being pretty damn elite at that as well. Yeah, I agree. When you look at it from that, yeah, I think probably someone like that is pretty much
And
a
I
shoe in.
and I know you're trying to be humble because you're the CrossFit athlete, so you can't say yes, I'm the fittest in the world.
Yeah,
But
true.
I'll say it for you.
Oh, thank you.
And you mentioned like the mental side of things there with ultra runners actually when you said it. For your sport, or I say your sport, for CrossFit and the situations that you've been in yourself. And I'm not just talking about competitions here. I'm talking about the capacity to put yourself through 10 training sessions a week, 3 sessions a day, 5 sessions a day. How does the mental side play a part for you in your training, in your life that you've chosen?
Yeah, I think as I've gotten older, it's become more challenging to execute the mental side of training. I definitely I put less priority on my training now than I do business, life, and relationships and things that are important to me. But I think when I was a little bit younger, when I first started, when I was like 24, 25, first getting into CrossFit, I was just like, I do really love what I'm doing and where I want to get to. And I think I only got this once I qualified for that regional competition that my mate signed me up for. It's like, okay, I can be good at this. And if I'm already good at this and I've only done it for less than a year, if I just knuckle down and really put in some hard yards and really try as hard as I can and give it everything I got, then it's going to take me to the top. And that's where I really want to be. And it's for no one else, it's for me. That's what I want to do. I want to prove it to myself that I can do that. I can be competitive in another sport rather than rugby. And I think that having a why, whatever why that is, it's very cliche to say it, but a lot of the time when push comes to shove, if the shove is stronger than your why, you're just gonna fall over and die, and you're gonna be done with it. And you see that a lot when people go, yeah, I want to sign up, I want to do this competition, I want to do it, and they never follow it through, they never see it through to the end, and it's just like, well, why didn't you? Well, this thing came up, oh, that thing came up. And I think my attitude at the time, whether it was wrong or right, and it's changed now again, is I used to view everything that I did as a sacrifice. So I'm not going to go out drinking with my mates because I have a competition coming up in 6 months' time. It's like, chill out, mate. You got a long time before your competition. You can come out for a drink. I'm like, no, if it is not going to push my needle forward to where I want to be, I don't want to do it. And I don't want it to be a part of my life. When my competition is done, whatever, I'll drop my guard and I'll go out and get smashed and have a good time. Otherwise, like if it didn't feed what I was trying to do, I didn't want a part of it. And I would, in my head, tell me it's a sacrifice. Everything I did, whether it's missing weddings, missing nights out, missing family gatherings, all things now which have very much changed in the way that I think. But back then it was like, okay, if I'm sacrificing all of this, I better make my training sessions worth it. So I would go in at like 8 p.m. at night into the gym, unlock the gym, go in and just do an assault bike session just by myself. It was prescribed on my thing, or maybe it wasn't prescribed on my thing. And like I was telling you before, I saw on Instagram and I went, I want to punish myself tonight. I'm going to go and do it. Um, so that was like the attitude I had before. I think now, and that was great. That's great if you want to be a full-time athlete and you want to become the best at what you're doing. I think you need that. But I think these days it's like I kind of wear a different hat. There are so many different hats that I have to wear that if I just wore that hat, I'd be shit at everything else I did, and I'd be extremely unsuccessful. Definitely wouldn't have a relationship with my girlfriend, and wouldn't, even like back then, I struggled to have a relationship with my parents. I didn't really want to talk to them. All I wanted to do was just train. Um, so yeah, even that sort of thing. I think now I see the importance of other things in life, and I prioritize them a little bit higher. It doesn't mean I don't train hard. My why is still there. I still believe I can get better at what I'm doing. I still believe I can compete, and I still believe I can do meaningful things within this sport. And it's a great vehicle for me to do other things as well. But it's definitely less importance placed upon being an athlete and being the best athlete I can possibly be. I think I can still be better as an athlete. I can be better as a human being, as a person. I can be better as a businessman. I can be better as a son. I can be better as a brother, as a boyfriend, fill in the blank. So it's kind of like over time, slowly kind of falling down the pecking order. But yeah, I still absolutely love the challenge of it. And I will put myself through the ringer every day, stupidly. I don't know why, but I still do, because it is so important to me, whether it is just part of me that I want to challenge myself all the time, or I don't really know. I think it's just, and I'm sure you have the same thing. I watched your running vlog the other day and you're hammering yourself around the Happy Valley running track, and it's like 100% humidity and 40 degrees out there. Like, why the fuck are you doing that, Pete? Relax. Go home, kick your feet up, watch some TV. But you love doing it. There's something innately inside you, which you've been brought up with, and you just love it. And it's just a part of you. And I think it will always be a part of me, no matter if it's CrossFit, if it's running, if it's high roxing, if it's weightlifting, powerlifting, something competitive, I'm going to need it, I think, throughout my life. So, yeah.
Was there a moment when the penny dropped for you, when it started that shift from being like, okay, my training is the priority, is the thing in my life. I will sacrifice anything to further my training and move the needle, as you said, towards now you're saying that the priorities have shifted. Was there a moment that started that shift? Was there one thing that happened?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess not many people know. I haven't really spoken about it. Is during COVID, so I guess it would have been like 2020, 2021 when I was in Dubai. I generally just lose track of the dates and the years these days. But when I was in Dubai, I had a girlfriend at the time living in Hong Kong. We're no longer together. My parents were living in Hong Kong. My brother was in Hong Kong. It was very challenging times of the business, and I was in Dubai. I was working and trying to get money for the business, and I was doing PTs and trying to send the money back and trying to grow the reputation of the brand, and I was still working whilst I was still being an athlete, like I always was. But I just started to feel like, and not only just feel from myself subjectively, it was also, I was told by my girlfriend at the time, my brother, my parents, that like I was becoming someone that they didn't really know. And I didn't feel like I was a part of the family. Didn't feel like I wanted to talk to anyone. They felt like I was massively isolated, and very confronting things that, you don't really want to hear when you believe you're doing good stuff and you're doing it for the great good and you're still doing it to help them. And, you're trying your hardest and basically becoming immensely defensive in everything that I was told, and hung up the phone and told everyone to piss off. And, then just actually trying to think about it, everything suddenly just felt like the idea of sacrifice had been flipped to an idea of selfishness rather than selflessness. I think when that penny dropped on me, I was like, okay, I'm going to try finish off this season. I need to get back home, and I need to sort my shit out. Like, my relationships are just falling apart. Things that I know are important to me, but I'm placing no importance on them right now. It's making me feel sad. It made me feel depressed about how I was living my life. Again, I was having a great time in Dubai, and the people around me were great, but also the people that mean the most to me, I'd basically lost contact with them. I'd become an alien essentially to them. And that made me very sad, and, wanting to try and reverse that all. So I needed to get back to Hong Kong. I needed to put my business shoes back on. And if that meant that I needed to take a little step back from being an athlete, then so be it. That's okay. And I'm okay to do that. Maybe the athlete side will come back later on, and there'll be another avenue for me later. But I think that's kind of the point where it all shifted a little bit for me.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it can't have been easy to have the people you most care about tell you something you didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's big of them and brave of them to put themselves out there like that. And so when you then went back, was it reversible? Or were the relationships that had been harmed able to be reversed? And how did they kind of accept you back, for way of a better word?
Yeah, I think, luckily for me, family is family. I think that's the way my family see it as well. And your blood, and whether you like it or not, I'm a part of that family. I still think I'm adopted though, but either way, they should know that. That's the story for another time. But yeah, I think, my mum and dad they're great. They forgive and forget very quickly and no problem. And I think with my brother, I think it took a bit longer to try and earn some trust back, and rightly so. I'd been away for 6 months, hadn't really told anyone what I was doing over there. It was just kind of like, I'm just trying, like, leave me alone. Like, you guys know what I'm doing, and I'm doing my best, and I'm still showing up for team meetings. I'm still doing my online PTs because COVID's fucked and screwing everything up. And I'm still doing it. Like, why are you getting on my back about it? And, just trying to accept ownership and responsibility of all that sort of stuff, the more ownership that I could take of it, then the better everything got, really. And that's something that that was, yeah, I speak to people now a lot about that as well, because I'm in like mentorship roles at the company. And that was not something that was natural to me, to take full ownership of something and say, like, I fucked up or I screwed up, and I put my hand up and I will do everything that I can to go forward and remedy this. That's always been a part of me, but extreme ownership where I actually take everything on the chin and say, I apologize for that. I will make it better going forward. And this is what I'm going to do. That was new to me. A lot of the time it's like, well, this is who I am. Just got to accept it. And actually I can still change it. I'm in control of doing that. So yeah, I think, building a relationship back up with Ed took a little bit longer. Unfortunately, my relationship at the time, my girlfriend, then ended up falling apart for other reasons as well. But yeah, I think it was definitely a learning curve for me. One that was very challenging to go through, but very grateful for now. Wish it didn't have to be that way, but it's just the way I've been told to learn, unfortunately. And yeah, I feel better for it, and I'm definitely in a happier place now, for sure. Have better relationships with the family, which is great. And yeah, plowing forward.
It's crazy that, I mean, first of all, thanks for being so open. I'm sure people, myself included, will get a lot of value out of that. And I can't help but think just hearing those experiences would make you so much better in the roles that you're doing now as a mentor, as a coach, not just a strength and conditioning coach, but a life coach or accountability coach or whatever it is. You can't help but listen to stories like that and think, oh, fuck, those experiences are actually what teaches you the proper lessons that then should be taught to other people. Can't help but think that. And so, and now having gone through all of that, and it's such an interesting story. I'm so happy we're having this conversation. In this stage of your life now, how do you then measure success for yourself, who's competed your whole life and is now, as you said, prioritizing different things?
Yeah. Success seems to change. Like the outcome is obviously something that you are told, that you never base success upon an outcome. And I definitely believe in that. I think, like I was saying in my rugby days, I absolutely love playing in rugby sevens. I would love to go back 10 years, 15 years and play in another Hong Kong sevens. It was honestly my dream every year it came around, but it was just the process and the journey of it, the everyday in and out grind, which I used to love. And I would die to have that feeling back again. But yeah, I think loving the process and loving the journey is my definition of success, is honestly just feeling successful on a daily basis. And that's honestly checking off my to-do list. It's doing my roles and responsibilities at work. It's making sure that I know that I've given my full effort on any given day to any given task that I have chosen to do, or, being asked to do. And honestly, just trying to be a good human. I don't always succeed at it. Still fuck up a lot. But very, grateful for the people I have around me that, give me grace for my mess ups and the things that I slip up on, and forgive me on a daily basis, or are just calm with me and slow with me and patient with me. But yeah, honestly, just every single day, it's like, give my full effort and give my full attention to whatever the task is that I'm trying to accomplish. And whatever the outcome that I am aiming for, 1 year, 6 months, 1 year, 12 years down the line, it will come. And that, hard work is instilled in me. I don't need to tell myself to work hard, because I feel like that, again, just comes naturally to me, whether it's the way that I was brought up with family, whether it's the sport that did that, I don't know, but that's fine. It takes care of itself. It's like reminding myself to be a good human being, reminding myself to try and take the little wins and just constantly put one foot in front of the other. That's honestly success to me right now. And I think being a part of the company at Coastal and with the process, it gives me a purpose to work towards every single day, and something that I feel fulfilling, which is trying to positively impact the lives of others. That's like on an individual or group class basis in our four walls. And I also have this amazing online platform with the process where I can touch and affect so many other lives as well. So I'm just very grateful to have that. And I'm sure my definition of success will change tomorrow when I wake up. There'll be something else which I'm like, shit, I got to nail that today. And that's, if I can nail that, then I'm going to be successful for the day. And every single day is different. And then when a competition rolls around, it's like, okay, with my competition, it's not about, do I come first, second, or third on the podium? It's, do I execute my strategy? Do I give my full effort every single time? Every time I interact with someone that walks up to me and says, hi, am I a good person? Do I make them feel good? Because I've had times in the past where people are like, oh, my friend tried to come take a photo with you and you didn't tell him to fuck off, but you basically told him to fuck off. And I was like, shit, I really don't want that. And, you know, every single interaction I have on a daily basis needs to be a good one. And I want it to be a good one. I genuinely do. And even coming home now I'm thinking about it, I came home and my girlfriend was here next to me on the computer and I basically gave her nothing. And that makes me feel sad. So after this conversation, I want to go outside and rectify that. But yeah, just success changes all the time. And it's just trying to love the journey and the process of what I'm doing on a daily basis is where I'm finding success at the moment.
How would you like to be remembered, Ant?
God. I definitely wouldn't like to be remembered for the accolades and the things that I've achieved. Although I think they're great and they make a person, I'd like to be remembered as honestly just a nice, reliable guy is all I really care about these days. I think, again, like you take me back 20 years, I want to be remembered as the rugby player that lifted the first Hong Kong Shield in however many years with the Hong Kong Sevens team, the guy that captained the Sevens team, the guy that qualified for the first CrossFit Games out of Asia, the first guy from Hong Kong, whatever. I think a lot of those accolades and labels they're a little bit lost on me these days. I love doing them. I love achieving them. And I definitely keep them down written. I got all my medals and stuff all in that room over there. And I think it's wild, like I said, massively important for me to do it, but it's not what I want people to remember me by. I don't know is the answer, Pete, honestly. And that's a shit answer. I will come back to you and I will find you an answer to that question. Well, how do I want to be remembered? But yeah,
Mate, honestly,
sure.
I think it's by you answering the way you did. I think that tells more than you could possibly say. It's not about the accolades because if there's a man in Asia and Hong Kong that has the accolades, it's you. And if that's not how you want to be remembered, then that's probably paints a good picture to people as to how you do want to be remembered. As you know, and the podcast is called Abnormal. It's for normal people that want to do abnormal things. And you very much fit the bill of abnormal, which I love. And I've loved this conversation. If you had to give one piece of advice then to anyone out there looking to do something abnormal in their lives, what would it be?
Yeah, I think, well, I'm going to go against you and I'll give two pieces of advice. I think the first thing is the question you asked me, the man in the arena. And my answer was courage over comfort. I think if it's something that's just scares the shit out of you and you kind of want to do it, but you kind of don't want to do it, but you feel like you should do it, just fucking do it. What's the worst that could happen? I've come last in workouts on the big stage. I've been the only guy on the floor at the CrossFit Games, which is live televised across the world. And no one remembers me for that, thankfully. So yeah, I mean, no one's going to care. All people care about is the fact that you put yourself out there and you joined them on a task that was really fucking hard. I think with that is whatever you choose to do, you got to love the daily grind. You got to love the journey. You got to love the process. Because if you don't, the outcome will be miserable once you get there. I think the amount of top elite players in whatever field, even, people who are in massively high power political positions will say the same thing. It's like, it's not about the journey it's not about the outcome when you get there at the end and winning the war or winning the trophy or winning first place. It's about the 364 days that are done before it and the years before that and the years before that of hard work, which has been where all the fun, where all the satisfaction and where everything that is good has come from. It's not that 10 seconds of fame that you get. That's great, but everything else is more important. So loving the journey, loving the process and finding joy within those moments on a daily basis is what you need to do from my side.
Love it. And Haynes, thank you so much for this conversation. I would say it's long overdue and it's lived up to the hype. It's more than I was expecting. And mate, just thank you. Huge thanks again for agreeing to come on, for opening up, for sharing your lessons, because as I said, you are someone that, you know, we all look up to in Asia and in Hong Kong, especially. And we didn't touch on it today, but the social media content, everything that you put online is very inspiring and educational and helpful to everyone. So love your story, man. Looking forward to linking up more in the future for sure. And thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Abnormal. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing to the channel and give us a 5-star review in whatever podcast platform you are listening or watching on right now, as it goes a long way to help growing the show. Thank you, and see you in the next one.